Today, we're diving into aquatic biomes. Our learning objective is to describe the global distribution and key environmental aspects of these biomes. Unlike terrestrial biomes, aquatic biomes are categorized by their physical characteristics, such as salinity, depth, and water flow. Salinity refers to the amount of salt in the water. You have freshwater with the low to no salt and marine biomes, which are salty. We'll also consider depth and water flow, or how fast the water is moving. Salinity is often measured in parts per thousand or ppt. The diagram on this slide shows examples of different types of water, from freshwater with 0 to zero point 0.5 ppt to briny water with over 50 ppt. Our first freshwater biome is streams and rivers. These are flowing freshwater bodies that can originate from underground springs or from runoff from rain and melting snow. Streams are typically narrow and carry a small amount of water, while rivers are wider and carry larger amounts. Most streams and rivers have very few producers like plants or algae. Instead, they get their energy from organic matter like fallen leaves that come from nearby land biomes. When streams come together to form rivers, the water flow typically slows down, which causes sediments and organic matter to settle in the bottom. In fast moving streams and rivers, you'll find stretches of rapids where water and air mix together. This mixing allows for a high amount of atmospheric oxygen to dissolve into the water, which supports fish like trout and salmon. Slower moving rivers have less of this mixing and therefore less oxygen. A major threat to this biome is the presence of excess nutrients and pollutants. Lakes are larger than ponds and are divided into several zones. The littoral zone is the shallow area near the shore where you'll find emergent plants like cattails and most of the lake's photosynthesis. The limnetic zone is the open water where rooted plants can no longer survive. In very deep lakes, sunlight cannot reach the bottom, so there is a profundal zone with no producers. Here, bacteria decompose detritus and consume any oxygen, leaving little for larger organisms. Finally, the benthic zone is the muddy bottom of the lake or pond. Lakes are classified by their level of primary productivity. An oligotrophic lake has low productivity due to low nutrient levels. A mesotrophic lake has moderate level of productivity, and a eutrophic lake has a very high level of productivity. Human activities are causing increased nutrient inputs, which is making oligotrophic lakes less clear and more eutrophic. Freshwater wetlands are areas that are submerged or saturated by water for at least part of each year. They are shallow enough to support emergent vegetation. There are different types of wetlands. Swamps contain emergent trees, marshes have non woody vegetation like cattails, and bogs are very acidic and contain sphagnum moss and spruce trees. Freshwater wetlands are considered one of the most productive biomes on Earth. Wetlands play a critical role in the environment. They can absorb large amounts of rainwater and release it slowly into groundwater or nearby streams. This helps to reduce the severity of floods and droughts. They also filter pollutants from the water and recharge the groundwater with clean water. Wetlands are also a critical habitat for many species. For example, many bird species depend on wetlands for migration or breeding. In the United States, 1/3 of all endangered bird species spend some part of their lives in wetlands, even though wetlands only make up about 5% of the total land area. Sadly, more than half of the freshwater wetland area in the United States has been drained for agriculture, development, or to eliminate mosquito breeding grounds. Now we'll move on to marine biomes, starting with salt marshes. They are found along coastlines in temperate climates and are one of the most productive biomes in the world. An estuary is a special type of salt marsh where the fresh water from rivers mixes with the salt water of the ocean. These are very productive for plants and algae because of the large amount of nutrient rich organic material that rivers bring. The plants in salt marshes help to filter contaminants out of the water. They also serve as an important habitat for spawning fish and shellfish, with 2/3 of all marine fish and shellfish spending their larval stages in estuaries. However, salt marshes have suffered from being filled in for development and polluted by nearby rivers. Mangrove swamps are found along tropical and subtropical coasts and are home to trees with roots that are submerged in water. These trees help to protect coastlines from erosion and storm damage. The falling leaves and trapped organic material create a nutrient rich environment that is an excellent habitat for fish and shellfish. Unfortunately, nearly one third of the world's mangrove swamps have been destroyed, mostly for human habitation or for growing crops like rice and rubber trees. The intertidal zone is the narrow band of coastline that exists between high and low tides. The conditions here are harsh because during low tide, the organisms are exposed to direct sunlight, high temperatures, and desiccation, which means drying out. However, this biome is home to a wide variety of organisms that are adapted to these conditions. Next, we have coral reefs. They are found in warm, shallow waters and are the most diverse marine biome on Earth. Corals are tiny animals that secrete a layer of limestone to form an external skeleton. They have a mutualistic relationship with a type of algae called zooxanthellae that lives in their tissues. Corals digest the food they capture and release carbon dioxide and nutrients. The algae use the carbon dioxide for photosynthesis to produce sugars, which they then release to the coral. This mutualistic relationship allows corals to live in nutrient poor water, but unfortunately, pollutants and sediments make it difficult for corals to continue to survive. Coral bleaching is a major threat to this biome. It's caused when the algae inside the corals die, leading them to lose their color, and is often a result of lower ocean pH and high water temperatures. Finally, we have the open ocean. This is the deep ocean water that is located away from the shoreline. It's separated into different zones based on how much light they get. The photic zone is where the sunlight penetrates, which allows for photosynthesis by algae, the major producers in this biome. The aphotic zone is the deep water that does not receive enough sunlight for photosynthesis. The benthic zone is the ocean floor. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you guys tune in next time as we talk about movement of matter.